All right, I'm pleased to announce the opening of this very important meeting. The theme is Policy to Advance Women's Careers in Science. And I want to invite my assistant, director, Ali Kun, to, start with the opening address on behalf of the Alliance of International Science Organizations. So, Professor Ai, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Cao. Hello, everyone. Hello, ladies. Good afternoon and good morning. I'm Ali Kun from Secretariat of ANSO. Thank you very much for participating this ANSO webinar on Women in Sciences. Today is also a very memorable day for Chinese science community. Chinese Academy of Sciences and the Chinese Academy of Engineering announced the list of new academicians today. Among the 149 awardees, only 11 are women, which is just 7%. The founder of People's Republic of China, Chairman Mao, said, "Women hold up half the world." But in science community, this 7% is the reality we are facing now. So today is a very good opportunity to have this meeting by inviting so many excellent women scientists from all around the world talking about the science and women in science issues. ANSO and Hungarian Academy of Sciences started preparing this meeting from June, and we got strong support from Organization for Women in Science of TOAS for the developing world and Chinese Academy of Sciences. Here, I would also like to give my sincere thanks to GST and NASDA for their great support to this meeting. Finally, thanks to all the excellent speakers and participants. Thank you very much for your great support and contribution.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ai. You already saved a couple of minutes. Today is indeed a very big day. But if you look at China's situation, I don't have the detailed statistics, and it says that we do have a lot more women scientists, but at top level, there are still very few. So we definitely need that promotion because they do hold half the sky, and in some of the areas, ladies can do actually better. At least from my understanding. In the opening, we have 3 more speakers. Now I want to take the pleasure to invite Professor Ferit Handes, Vice President, Hungarian Academy of Sciences, to give an opening. Thank you. Professor Handes.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And first of all, I wish to congratulate all the new members of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and Chinese Academy of Engineering, and especially those who are belonging to the group we are talking about this morning, so to the ladies. So good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, President Bai, or distinguished speakers, dear colleagues, and all guests who are following us via the internet from South America through Africa to the Far East. In my capacity as the Vice President of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, on behalf of the organizing committee, it is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you to our global online workshop devoted to one of the key issues of society's diversity. Why is diversity important for science? Why did the organizers of our workshop, the Alliance of International Science Organizations, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, the Organization of Women in Science for Developing World, and the Hungarian Academy of Sciences made the decision to choose this topic as its focus? In the wake of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, We, as member of the governing board, welcome the idea that a series of topic-focused online meetings should be jointly organized by ANSO members and partners. It has been decided that the topic of these meetings should focus in particular on some key issues of the UN Sustainability Development Goals. Among these topics, one can identify crucial horizontal priority areas. At least one of them would surely include people from a variety of ethnicities, religions, cultures, sexual orientation, backgrounds, perspectives, area of expertise, and other variables to participate in science. It is at this point where we arrive at the notion of diversity. Our workshop should be regarded as an important milestone of our guests towards recognition of utmost value of diversity. Before giving the floor to our distinguished speakers, let me single out one of the crucial topics which will be tackled today and tomorrow. This is the questions of meritocracy versus positive discrimination. Meritocracy refers to a system in which power, wealth, privilege are determined by an individual's merit. However, the concept of meritocracy in academia often overlooks diversity in society, such as traditions, income inequality, access to the STEAM education, prejudices, and other factors that might limit opportunities for students and researchers, for instance, women or groups of minority background. Considering these obstacles, we can only safely say that positive discrimination measures are unethical. The complexity of the issue derives from the great diversity of actors in science all over the world. The distinguished participants of our workshop may certainly contribute to this dialogue with their comments based on their valuable experience from China, Japan, Kenya, Thailand, and Hungary. Honorable speakers representing international organizations can without doubt contribute to other aspects of the question as well. By talking about diversity and engaging talented people with different backgrounds to participate in science, why should we concentrate on women? The answer is quite simple. Almost half of the population of the world, by UN data, close to 4 billion persons in 2020 are women. And what can we say about gender equality in science? Does the representation of women approach the 50% ratio? At this point, I would like to draw your attention to an important study published recently in September with the title, quote, Gender Equality in Science, Inclusion and Participation of Women in Global Science Organizations, results of 2 global surveys. The study reports on the results of surveys conducted amongst academies that are members of the International Academic Partnership and the International Science Council, as well as amongst international disciplinary unions and associations that are members of the International Science Council. The study was coordinated by Gender Insight. This is a project leading entity, Gender in Science, Innovation, Technology, and Engineering. The results of the survey will be shown soon, that some thought-provoking characters. The first one, these are the background, which you are, and the reference also on the slide below, so you can find the global, the full results. So in this study, firstly, it was shown that the average share of women's representation in senior academics in 16, while the share to 16%, while the average share of young academics is 42.
Okay.
These are the participants. These are the results of the study. So the first I mentioned, the average share of women's representation in senior academies, 16%, in young academies in 42%. The second observation was about the share of women academy members, ranges from as high as 28% in biological sciences. Let me see. Maybe I'm speaking just to give the information and then you have visual support for understanding. So the second result I wanted to mention is about the share of women academy members, which is very much different. It is 28% in biological sciences before, 27% social sciences, arts and humanities, and much less in engineering, 10%, or in mathematical sciences. Here it is, the second dot. The third one is about the average share of women serving in governing bodies. 29% in academies and 36% for disciplinary unions and associations. Next one. Can we make a move? Okay. So 46% of academies have programs for focusing on women in science, but only 16 out of the 46 can give a positive feedback and budget for doing the same thing. 22% of academics and 42% of unions and associations have documents that address sexual harassment in the workplace. And the last point is that 20% of the SDGs 5 does not apply to their institution, which is a high level. So summarizing this, that data, so we still have a lot to do in order to facilitate the involvement of women in research. The organizing committee of the workshop decided to step forward and take the initiative also to prepare a joint communication on women in science. So this is on top of the organization of this workshop. The starting point of these recommendations of the proposed statement is a call for describing and analyzing the situation of women in science in one society, culture. So what could bring this topic into the fore? Let us collect and study examples and learn from each other. So the scientific progress relies on problem solving and collaboration. While trying to answer complex questions, progress often results from diverse perspectives. That is the ability to see the given problem differently. This is often the key to a breakthrough. Therefore, we can hardly afford not to make use of all the potential of the mankind with all of its diversity. So this is the take-home message and the key imperatives mentioned. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and colleagues, now the opportunity is with us to exchange the existing practices, to elaborate future thoughts and collaborate and cooperate. Thank you very much. I wish you a very stimulating workshop without any technical difficulties, but we are prepared.
Hello, thank you so much for this invitation, and I'm delighted to be here. I'll be talking in the next session about what our organization, OST, does, Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World. We call it OST, and I'll be sharing with you just now what we do. I just want to give you a little introduction. Our organization is running a 2-week General Assembly at the moment. It's online and it's for 3 hours every afternoon. That is in our time frame. But I just want to share with you, one of our early speakers was the director of CERN, the International Atomic Energy Research Organization that's based in Switzerland. And her name is Fabiola Gianotti. And she is the first woman who's run CERN. And she's the only head of CERN who's been appointed twice. And I just want to share with you that we are not surprised that the first woman is the first person to be elected twice to run the same an enormous organization, because women have an ability to lead in an inclusive way. And I just want to give you a little bit of my own experience. I became head of the Department of Microbiology at the University of Cape Town in 1988. And I was the first woman to head a department in the science faculty. And when I went into the department to start my appointment, I discovered that there were 2 floors completely not talking to each other. On the top floor, there were the virologists, and on the bottom floor, there were the bacteriologists. And they didn't meet, and they didn't talk, and they didn't do projects together. So I'm a bacteriologist, and I immediately went up to the above floor, and I said to the head of the virology group, what can we work together? How can we work together on a joint project where we actually both need each other? That I need your expertise and you need my expertise. And we decided that what we would do, and we developed maize, corn, tolerant to a virus that is only found in Africa. So the virologists needed their skills, and they needed my skills as a genetic engineer. And so immediately the 2 floors joined forces and became a unit. And I then discovered that all the departmental seminars were held at 5 o'clock. What an abomination. 5 o'clock is when the mothers are looking after their kids, when the wives and single parents even are going to prepare meals. So we immediately made all our seminars happen at lunchtime. And just like Fabiola Gianotti got re-elected, at the time, the science faculty, the heads of departments were rotated every 3 years. And I was rotated 4 times just because they liked having me as a head of department. And I enjoyed doing it. And so just another anecdote, I was advisor in biotechnology to the Minister of Science for many years, 16 in fact. And the Minister of Science was a woman. And she had initiated a series of special chairs around South Africa, identifying senior researchers to give a special grant to run research chairs. And she discovered after a few years that these were almost always men, just like have been elected. And she decided that one year she was only going to ask for applications for women. And she appointed these 20-odd chairs, about 20. And then she had a meeting with all the vice chancellors from the universities. And she said, these women are outstanding. They should have been appointed full professors in their own rights. Why did I have to come as Minister of Science and Technology and tell you, as vice chancellors of your university, what seriously intelligent and good leadership you've got amongst your women scientists? And just to show you that it does take a little bit of a nudge to get the organizations to realize that the women actually are needed and are, as just said, we hold up half the sky. So thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here, and I will be talking just now about our organization, tell you more of what we do for women in science in the developing world. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. And you gave a couple of examples to elaborate how a women scientist could be successful, in the leadership position, also in promoting cross-disciplinary collaboration. You said a good example. I'm sure there are lots of other good examples. We need to elaborate those stories to the public, to the international scientific community. Our next speaker is Dr. Lily Barvanche, Vice President of National Science and Technology Development Agency, Thailand. And so we'll play a little video produced by Lily. Lily is very active to participate in ANSO activities. And we have that little video.
It is my honor and most privilege to join the ANSO workshop on women in science towards the diversity of research and researchers, jointly hosted by ANSO, the Hungarian Academy of Science, and the Chinese Academy of Science, with the support of the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World. I'm a firm believer that scientific research does not have borders, and it indeed is a platform that brings together scientists with different backgrounds and areas of expertise. The strategy that prevails among the scientific community is to work in a collaborative manner, regardless of the characteristics of each individual contributor. It is in fact the fusion of all types of ideas and personal perspectives that creates novelty in science and helps on improving scientific paradigms. Being a woman and a scientist and more is not always easy. Having to blaze your own trail is hard, but it also provides you a lot of freedom and creativity in your work. Knowing that all your efforts to open the door will one day also benefit others makes your personal achievements even more satisfying. From my experience, the hardships and obstacles have also made us become more supportive, conscious of potential biases, including our own, and open to different expressions of scientific work and excellence. Therefore, I encourage early career female scientists to believe in yourself and know that what you do matters for science and for society. Strive to create the networks and find the peer support and mentoring that you need. I would like to express my appreciation to our distinguished speakers for devoting their time to enrich this forum with their knowledge and experience in policies to advance women's careers in science. I believe that with our distinguished participants, this session will provide productive and insightful information and experiences, also encourage and inspire every woman in science to reach their maximum potential, to make significant advancement in science and technology for the benefit of mankind. Thank you.
Yeah, Lily, yes, thank you so much. And with her remarks, we finished the opening of the workshop. Now, I want to really take the pleasure to invite Professor Jennifer Thompson, President of OST, to take the floor and share, introduction about this organization, your mission and mandate, and all the good stuff you have done to promote women scientists.
So my Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World, my talk is how OST can help women scientists unleash their latent talents. Can I have the next slide? If you look at the bottom in red, the whole idea of OST is to change perceptions, to change perceptions of the role of women in science. So I'm going to go through each of these. I'm going to talk first about our fellowships. We have PhD and early career fellows and the awards we give and the networking via our national chapters, and I'll tell you all about that. But I just want to say that OST is a doing organization. It's not a talking organization. We do things. Next slide. Yeah, so the PhD fellowships are funded from Sweden. Their CEDA is their funding agency, and they've been funding these PhDs since 1998. And they are for women from developing countries, and they do their PhDs in other developing countries. And it's in both the natural and social sciences. I became when I first became president, I've just started my second 5-year term. In my first 5 years, one of the first things I did was open the membership to social scientists, because it was only natural scientists before then. And I also opened a certain special category for membership of men, because women can't do it alone. We need our men. And the host institute, I said, is in another developing country. And so far, we've had 327 graduates, and there are 145 currently studying. And we've had almost no dropouts. Next slide. Oh, I won't go into those. That's the various eligible countries. Next slide. Okay, so what is covered? I won't go into the details, but basically CEDA gives stipends, travels, visas, medical insurance, and the host institute pays tuition fees, registration fees, and bench fees. So we go into a memorandum of understanding with all the universities that our women scientists are at. Next slide. So those are the PhD fellows, and I love it because they're quite a lot of them. About 12 of them at the moment are studying at the University of Cape Town, my university. And I often enjoy getting these women together because they don't always know each other, and to help them network, because networking is so important. Next slide, we'll talk about our early careers. Next. So the early career fellows, women scientists fellowships, is funded by Canadians, the IDRC, which is the International Development Research Centre based in Canada, and it was launched just fairly recently in 2018. Next slide. So what the early career women scientists get is an equipment grant of about $10,000 US, and research activities grant of $40,000, and they attend 2 workshops. One is to strengthen their leadership, and the other, if it's appropriate, their collaboration with industry. Now, I often give talks at these workshops because I talk about things like how to run a lab, how to collaborate, and things like that they don't necessarily learn in a formal situation. And then we have members of our staff, of the O staff, teaching them how to order, how to buy equipment, how to engage with the appropriate funding agencies that they are able to collaborate with. So it really is a very, very enabling grant. And by talking about early careers, we actually don't have an age limit. At one stage at the University of Cape Town, our vice chancellor was a woman, and I used to hike with her in the mountains. And she used to say to me, you know, Jen, women peak later. So what is an early career for a man is a very different age, very often, for a woman. And so we have to be very flexible when we talk about early careers, because early is different for a man scientist as it is for a woman scientist. Next slide. So then we have awards. Now, these are quite amazing. Let me tell you about that in the next slide. Okay, so you know the agency that does a lot of publications, the Elsevier publications. They have a foundation which they use to help people in science, and they have been giving awards to OST women who are in our 4 regions. So we have 4 regions. One is, our biggest is in Africa. Then we have Asia and the Pacific region. We have the Arab countries, and we have Latin America and the Caribbean. So what the Elsevier Oost Award is, Elsevier Foundation, is for one woman in each of those regions plus one. So we give every year 5 of these awards. And they usually are in a particular theme. So one year it was in engineering, and one year it was in agriculture. I'll tell you just now how we've changed these criterion. But what it is an award of $5,000. And the important thing that this award is given at a special ceremony during the annual meeting of the AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science. So whenever this meeting is, wherever it is being held, our 5 women go there and are awarded the awards at a special ceremony that has been set aside by the AAAS specifically for the Elsevier Foundation Awards. And each of these women has to go up and give a short talk on what they do. And some of these women are from countries where English is not their first language. So I go along for a few days before the ceremony, and I take these women through their paces and show them, teach them how to give a short presentation to put themselves in the highest possible vantage point. And very often what we find is that during the ceremony, these women network with some of the organizations that are represented at the special ceremony. And so, for instance, one year it was in Boston, then it was Washington and Seattle. And for many of these women, it is a career-changing event. Let me show you in the next slide. This is one of our women from Malawi. She won this award a number of years ago, and when she got home to Malawi, the president of Malawi gave her a special award for getting the special award. So it's an amazing opening up of all sorts of opportunities for these women. Next slide. And then more recently, the woman from Bolivia won it for the the Latin American countries. And she was given a 1-hour meeting with the Bolivian president when she returned home. And that's the picture of her at the bottom, meeting with the president of Bolivia. And he was so impressed by what the organization was doing and what the winners were achieving, that he promised at that meeting that from then on, there would be an annual special day to celebrate Bolivian women in science. So as you can see, it has a knock-on effect. So as I said in the first slide, what we are trying to do is change perceptions. And certainly we changed the perceptions of the presidents of Malawi and of Bolivia. Next slide. And this is one of the workshops. Oost is based for historical reasons in Trieste, in Italy. And the reason why we are is that the World Academy of Science is based in Trieste, and we are housed by the International Center for Theoretical Physics, and they are very, very keen to get more women into theoretical physics. So we're in a beautiful situation working there in Trieste, and this is one of our early career fellowships workshops when we're teaching them about how to manage their labs, how to get ahead, and how, if their work is of an applied nature, if they can get in touch with industry. Next slide. And finally, what we do is networking through our national chapters. So far, we've got about 43 national chapters. When you've got more than 20 members in one country, you can start a national chapter. And that is where the real hard work goes. It's where the networking occurs. And next slide. Currently, at the moment, in total, we have over 7,600 members. And in order to become a member, you first join Us International, which is based in Trieste, and then you become a member of the national chapter in your country. And so, as I said, there's Africa, Arab states, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And here I say exactly, we've got 42 national chapters, but we have no funding for them. So although the Swedes and the Canadians give us funding for special projects and the Elsevier Foundation gives us money for those awards, we have actually no money for running our national chapters. So it is the members themselves who pay for the privilege of having a national chapter and the networking. So you see, they realize how beneficial it is for this networking to occur in their countries. And what I encourage them to do is, when they form a new national chapter, to link with an organization that is already up and running in their country, such as a national academy. My national chapter in South Africa is under the auspices of our South African Academy of Science, and they realize the benefit of supporting OST. So although they haven't got money to give us, they help us in kind. So very often they lend us a person to act as our secretary, and they encourage us to participate in their meetings and they in our meetings. Also, other research organizations, for instance, our Kenya National Chapter is under the auspices of the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology. It happens to be run by a woman, and so she was delighted to host the Kenya National Chapter. So you can see we do as I said, we're an active organization. We're not a talking organization, we are doing organization. But at the bottom line is to change perceptions in every country where we're active. And so the next slide is just a thank you. And you can see in this slide of people graduating, there's one woman and all the rest are men. So we're trying to change that. And any opportunity I get, such as this fantastic meeting, to talk about our organization, I do with great pleasure and great thank you to you for inviting us to be part of this meeting. We are so grateful, and thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
So here's a little CV about Professor Mina Stavia. It's on the screen, And Mina, are you ready to go?
Good morning. Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Yes, I see that.
Good. We hear you loud, be clear. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. And let me just say that I'm extremely happy to be here with you, to say good morning from Brussels, and to thank you very much for inviting me to present what the European Union is doing to support more women in science and to achieve gender equality in research and innovation. I do have a presentation, so I will try to share my screen. And let's see how it works. Voilà. Let me start by presenting my slides. I do hope that you can see it clearly. So what do we have? Currently in the European Union, we do have a momentum. We do have a great momentum for gender equality, because actually gender equality has never been as high on the political agenda as it is today. With the current commission, with the current president of the European Commission, von der Leyen, we do have a new priority to foster a union of equality. We do have a first ever commissioner for equality, meaning that we need to mainstream equality aspects in all European Union's policies and funding instruments, which is a huge step forwards. And we do have quite a lot of strategic documents to address this. Of course, in the field of gender equality, one of the very first acts that the European Commission adopted was the Gender Equality Strategy, and also the Gender Equality Plan for External Relations Actions. So how do we actually foster gender equality in our cooperation with strategic partners across the globe? So this is the case for the European Union overall. In the context of research and innovation, we do not make an exception. On the contrary, we are fully committed to actually achieve gender equality and to foster new and ambitious measures to support more women in science, innovation, and research. Gender equality has been a priority for us in our European Research Area framework since 2012, where we do have three main priorities. One is to ensure gender equality in research careers, meaning from recruitment to promotion at all stages. The second priority is to achieve gender balance in decision-making positions and in leadership positions. And the third priority is the integration of a gender dimension in research and innovation content. What does it mean? We need to make sure that whatever we do, we need to ensure that it's applicable to all. If we do measure the impact that our research has on men and women, on girls and boys, on female and male, on animals, so we need to make sure that this research is applicable to all of us. So we have been supporting these three priorities through an overall approach, which is to foster an institutional change through gender equality plans. So what does it mean? We do fund organizations to set in place a gender equality strategy and to actually implement it and to sustain it. We have been funding this for the last 7 years and more. We have more than 200 organizations that have been supported to implement such gender equality strategies, but also to connect and to make sure that we actually work in a partnership in a coherent way. We do work with member states, national administrations, we do work with research funding organizations, and we make sure that actually we provide training and establish communities of practice. Still, and these are numbers for the European Union, sorry, apologies, but I think that these numbers anyways are applicable globally. When we look into what is happening at the European level, but also at global level, we still have quite a lot of progress to make. So gender equality, of course, it's a structural change. It takes time. We are all committed. It really takes time, but we are not yet there at all. And not a single member state can actually comment by saying that we have achieved gender equality. Women are largely underrepresented at full professorship positions. When we look into, in particular, into the STEM or ICT professionals, we see a huge gap. So this is clearly something that we need to address. And we need to address with an ambitious and bold measure. So we are fully committed. I very much appreciate also the presentation that we had before, because I like the idea of we are doers, we are not talkers. So this is our commitment also from our hierarchy, from the European Commission, to make a progress and make a change. So what do? We do work with member states, national administrations, and research organizations to foster inclusive gender equality strategies at institutional level. When we say inclusive, so what do? We understand inclusive at least three different ways. Inclusiveness in terms of intersecting gender equality with other social categories and discrimination, such as on the ground of ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability, etc. So we really want to make sure that we do have inclusive strategies. We do work with the private sector, and we want to make sure that we have actually a geographical inclusiveness. What is very important is that it's not only us, but European Union, we do, of course, work together with national authorities, and they're also very committed to advanced gender equality in the context of research and innovation, and have recently adopted council conclusions actually committing themselves, but also research funders, to advance measures to ensure that for instance, allocation of research funding is not affected by gender bias, and to make sure that the gender equality plans are really the key instrument to foster a sustainable change at institutional level. We do have a new policy framework. And of course, this is very much linked to the European research area, but this is how we actually also cooperate at international level with our main partners. And we do expect that our political agenda is based on the commitment and advancement towards gender equality. Concretely, in terms of funding, what do we do? Our main funding program is Horizon Europe for the next until 2027. So we do fund research and innovation, and we have made a major step with this framework program, where we have introduced a new eligibility criterion for public organizations, research and innovation organizations from the European Union and associated countries, meaning we actually want that every organization that apply for funding has a gender equality plan at stake in order to be eligible. We also have two other elements that are relatively new in Horizon Europe, meaning that we actually ask that each proposal, research proposal, addresses the integration of the gender dimension into research and innovation content, and this becomes an award criteria in our projects. To provide you very briefly with just an example of what does it mean actually having a gender equality plan, how do we understand it? So first, very practical things for institutions from European member states and associated countries. As of 2022, public bodies, research organizations, or higher education institutions need to have a gender equality plan in order to apply for funding. A gender equality plan, it's how we understand it, it's very basic, and still, we are not yet there. So we do have 4 mandatory requirements at institutional level, meaning we need a public document where we actually see the commitment from the hierarchy, from the top management. It needs to be signed and it needs to be public and it needs to be disseminated within the institutions. A gender equality plan means that an institution should have dedicated resources to actually address potential gender imbalances at the institutional level. Such plans should be evidence-based. So there is a need of data disaggregated by sex and gender at all levels. And of course, very importantly, there is a need of commitment to training and capacity building within the organization to address issues such as gender bias, etc. So these are mandatory, these are basic. So if an organization doesn't have this, do not address these 4 building blocks, let's put it like this, then we would not consider it eligible for funding under our program. And then we also have some recommended areas. Again, all of those are very important, and also I would say the minimum to be addressed in an organization. The organization should look into the work-life balance within their institution, should advance gender balance in leadership positions, gender equality in recruitment and career progression, and also very important because indeed we do see this more often now in the last years. There is unfortunately gender-based violence also happening in the academic circle, and we want to address this, we want to prevent this. We do also fund projects on establishing recommendations to research organizations on how to address gender-based violence in the academic circle. So these are the what we call the recommended area, but we actually consider this as a minimum as well. And we are actually working quite intensively with organizations across Europe to help them develop such gender equality strategies. We have published very recently a guidance on how to address a gender equality plan. 1 month ago, I think we published it. We do have monthly trainings. And by the way, next week on 23rd, we do actually have a training with Hungarian institutions to support them in setting in place a gender equality plan. And we work also with the European alliances of universities to make sure that, of course, everyone is aware, but also ready and to prepare and to have in place such a gender equality strategy. I think I can stop here because we will circulate my slides. You have quite a lot of useful information on those slides on what do we consider a gender equality strategy? How do we support organizations to set in place a gender equality strategy? How do we also, what are the other measures that we have in place to promote more women-led research and women-led innovations? We have specific measures to actually support women innovators and women-led companies. So all of this information you can find on our website, which is very regularly updated. And last but not least, because of course we do not have so much time to discuss. You have all of our contacts here, and you are very much welcome actually to write to us and to address us for more information on what the European Union is doing in the field of research and innovation and gender equality. This is all from me for the time being.
Yeah. Thank you, Mina. For a very good presentation about the European Union situation and gender equality. So my understanding that you do have gender equality plans installed in a lot of programs. That's the way. So institutionalize. That is more forceful. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. And let's move to the next speaker, and Professor Kalungi, co-chair of ANSO Disaster Reduction, Association, and Dean for Disaster Management Reconstruction, Sichuan.
Okay. Well, first of all, I am delighted to be invited to have an opportunity to speak with this group. And on a personal note, I would like to say that in my time at UNESCO from 2010 to 2014, I had very exciting interactions both with AUST and also with the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. So this is very, very a wonderful opportunity for me. Next slide. So what I want to focus on is the following. When we think about the career developments of women in science, of course, there's multiple things. From getting girls interested in science, getting them into university careers, getting them to academic careers, etc. So there's all of those challenges. And those challenges, there are some common factors, but there's differences across national cultures and boundaries. But also there's multiple responsibilities on how to deal with these issues. So of course, there's university policy issues, there's governmental policy issues, there's funding agency issues, responsibility of governmental agencies. So we have a very complex network of who can help to solve the problem of the participation of women in science. Mm-hmm. Even though there's all these common challenges, there's also some common strategies. So for example, my time is very short, so I want to focus on a couple of them. I want to focus on the prospect of internationalization of our programs for increasing the leadership roles of women, and also innovations in curricula in our universities, our research programs. I also want to give some specific examples of really exciting programs that focus on leadership development of women, and also talk a bit about policy and legal frameworks for gender equality. But the basis for all of this is that we need to be scholarly. We need to gather the data and understand what works and what does not work in the participation of women in science and engineering. Next slide. So why is internationalization a strategy for enhancing the participation of women? Well, look, I think now I've worked in the US, but also with partnerships in Africa, Asia, and Europe. And at the undergraduate level, there's some common factors. Women are underrepresented in science, technology, mathematics, and engineering, but women are overrepresented in languages and international studies. And so if we can find programs which integrate international collaborations into our science collaborations, we'll get more of the brilliant young girls involved. And it actually works. I've done it for 20 years of my career. It actually works. And then in terms of leadership roles of female faculty members, I don't know what the story is, but young women professors, not so young women professors, are very good at working on these international programs. You know, when we go to any of our, you know, international SDG related programs, we see a lot of women. Women are all over the place. And so women have a real interest and excitement about rising to leadership roles in addressing international challenges like the SDGs. And then the other thing in which young women really are superstars is in the international, you know, networks of young scientists. I will give it one slide about You Inspire Alliance as an example later, but you know, so all I'm saying is that if we increasingly internationalize our programs, we will get more women leaders in our programs. And then also, we have to build on our existing networks. This meeting is hosted by ANSO, and I'm a big supporter of ANSO. In fact, a leader of one of the ANSO programs. But there's also UNESCO, UNEP, IRDR. And I would like to also cite the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, because the engineers somehow often get left out. But we have these networks that we can build on. So my key point is that if we want to internationalize our universities, which we all want to do, all of our university leaders, we want to internationalize our universities, right? It's a big goal. And we also want to include, most of us want to have more girls and women involved, right? So these two goals work together. If you internationalize the program, you can get more girls and women involved. Next slide. So, but how to do that? So, no, sorry, go back. Go back to the first.
往回一下，回一下。Is this?
Yeah, that
Is
one.
this
I want
what
to see
you?
that one. Okay, it's very important. This one is important. So what do we know about how to increase the participation of women and underrepresented minorities in engineering? You know, we have a lot of data in this regard, starting from the 1990s. Projects funded not only in the US, but in many other countries. And what we know is that if you move to more team-based, project-based approaches, then girls and underrepresented minorities get more involved. So the whole strategy should be to move to a curriculum in which our universities focus not only going blah, 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 blah to our kids forever while they're falling asleep, and set some challenges in terms of you know, concrete, practical projects that they can work on together. And it's quite practical right now that we can do that with universities worldwide. So we can have multinational projects. Multinational projects, which are real research projects, in which the kids are gathering real data in their, you know, home institutions. You know, for example, something could be something like urban resilience and water quality. Obviously, some kid in Zimbabwe and some kid in Bangladesh and some kid in Chengdu and some kid in Paris could do a similar project. So the whole point of this model of education is that these are real research projects. Professors are too busy to make up little toy projects for kids to do because they're under huge pressure to get their tenure, to get their publications, and blah, 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 blah. But the other good thing is that these kind of projects promote the kind of leadership and communication skills that our kids will need later. And also they have the prospect for making deep partnerships across national boundaries doing real work that we all want to do. And, you know, those of us who are university professors or university leaders, we know that we have to show some value to our societies. So we need to show some real output. So next slide, please. So I mentioned the importance of youth. So I want to cite the example of You Inspire Alliance. It was a project originally launched by UNESCO in Jakarta, which now has 12 chapters in the countries that you can see, with 1,000 members. The whole idea is networks of youth can do so much. And empirically, what has happened, I've been working with them for more than 5 years, is you see a lot of leadership of young women. So I don't know exactly why it is that young women come to the fore, but there's something happening in which young women rise to the leadership roles in these kinds of organizations. Next. Next. So in my own work, I am connected with ANSO. I'm a co-director on the ANSO organization focusing on, wait, sorry, what happened? Go back. So, ANSO, you know, this conference is co-organized by ANSO, and ANSO organized several theme organizations, and I was honored to co-direct one of them with Professor Stui Peng, and you'll see the whole theme here. We're trying to broaden participation and also to make interdisciplinary links. And currently we have participants from 17 countries in Belt and Road countries. Next. By the way, our participants range from China all the way to Italy. So to connect the youth and the ANSO, we co-organized this workshop in Chengdu recently on young researchers in science and technology. And I'm just going to show this one very briefly because I want to show you the next one. It was a wonderful workshop organized under ANSO and IDMR. But, you know, it turned out that 30% of the participants were women. So that's my favorite photo of my life. And by the way, this was not any kind of affirmative action like we wanted to invite women, but women seemed to be very excited about working on the kind of things that I was talking about working on. Multinational, SDG, sustainable development. There's probably 15 countries there. I'm not sure how many, but what happened, it was so funny. We had the big group formal photo, and then all the girls said, "No, Gretchen, we've never been at a meeting when we were not the only woman. So let's have a photo together." So we made this photo, which is my favorite photo of my whole career. Next. Sorry?
向前走一个。
Okay, so as a former ADG of UNESCO, I want to highlight some of the UNESCO work. You know, recently, there was the UNESCO engineering report, which had a big focus on women in engineering. And more recently, the UNESCO science report, also with focus on women in science. And, you know, I also want to stress with Jennifer that the value of prizes is just cannot be underestimated. So with L'Oreal, UNESCO established the Women in Science Prize. So the senior women and the junior women, 2 categories, And many of the senior women, after they got the UNESCO L'Oreal Prize, they got the Nobel Prize, but also the UNESCO junior women, it made a huge influence on their professional development. So I urge you guys to all look at this. Next. Next slide. Okay, this is very brief. I stressed earlier that the topics of research make a difference in terms of who wants to do the research. So a couple of months ago, we hosted a research with conference with UNEP on ecosystems-based approaches. And look, as you can see, we've got a whole bunch of women. We did not invite them because they were women, but somehow, if you adjust your research directions and your educational directions, you'll get a lot of women. Next. Next. Next slide. Hello? Okay, so I have only 2 more slides. I want to talk about the problems of leadership development of women. And I have 2 examples of national programs that I think are both excellent. The first, I had a lot of involvement in the Us Nsf Advanced Program. So the key thing about the Advanced Program is what they did is that they spent, actually they're having their 20th anniversary this year. So the US invested huge amounts of money to promote institutions to make creative solutions to address the problems that we're facing. And the idea is that if you got the grant, if you're a university and you got the grant, you needed to design, implement, and also evaluate your strategy for how you can make it more easy for women to promote their careers in your institution. And it's huge investment in on the part of the US. It's $270 million in almost all of the states, including, and in addition, District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. And what these proposals did is each proposal gave a new strategy about how they would address the systemic bias in hiring, family policies, promotion, etc. And so they've established a huge database. Of course, it's something that happens in the US might not be applicable to all countries, but some of the lessons will be. And the other thing that I found very impressive about the advanced program is that they funded initially institutional transformation projects. Like, what is an institution going to do to change their processes to make them more equitable? But they also then established adaptation projects. So if one university found out this is working for me, then they would support another university to see how it would work out in a different context. So anyway, right now, there's a huge community of these institutions sharing experience and ideas, and they even have a new journal. Next. The other example that I'm very, very impressed with from my time at UNESCO is WeSet, the Women in Science and Technology Institute in Korea. It's a foundation. You can see this and you can look at it in more detail later. But what's very impressive to me is that they go from, if you go to the left, educational programs, workplace programs, they take into account that many times women have to take career interruption. How do they get back into the career? Analysis. Frankly, I think this was the most impressive national level program for women in science and technology that I've ever seen in my life. Next. So I probably exceeded my time, and I just wanted to say that, you know, the strategies that we require are very different across different nations. But we have to all work together. And we also need to benefit from international collaborations, and that our national funding agencies need to provide sustained support for research programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kalenji, for your very rich presentation. At least I have 3 takeaways. One is that we need internationality for women, scientist development, also national policy. Individuals like Professor Kalunji, I have to say that because an individual can also make a big difference. Thank you for that presentation. We move to the next one. May I invite Professor Zheng Xiaoying, Dean of the APAC Health Science Academy, Beijing University. She will talk about women in science, survival and development. Professor Zheng, are you there?
Yes, sure.
Yeah,
Professor Cao, how are you?
Professor Zheng, good.
Hi. Very thanks, Chairman. And good morning, afternoon, evening for all of international friends. It's very happy on behalf of our team to give a very interesting research. That's a period result, but I still want to share all of the knowledges and the informations to all of you. And the target is to continue to improve all the women's development in the science and the technology society. Currently, we have one question is about what is a women's survival and development in the science and the technology society. Right now, several scholars discuss about the women's development. That is the common problem or issues. Maybe we can call that is a big concerns for all of the social development. So I would like to continue to discuss what is an ideal ecosystem for the women's development, especially currently the women's situation on the development could match the ideal ecosystem. That is what I would like to discuss following slides. About the ideal ecosystem for women's development should have a lot of the contents. We only know not only to attend the work or to have them work. That is our ideal ecosystem. We need all of the women and the men continue to have same equal support to the political, cultures, science, technology, education, empowerment, and so on. They should have an equal contribution. That is very happy to see. Currently, the Women's Empowerment Action Framework encompassing 12 fields. That's the real guideline for all of the women's development in all of the countries, both developing countries and developed countries. I would like to show several pictures that show that's exciting stories, such as Nobel Prize in the chemistry, medicine, were awarded to several women. That is good news, especially some women scientists can enjoy Mars probe projection and some the Mars probe and the Moon craft projection. That's a real good story, exciting for all of the people, both men and women. But that's very, very few people can show in these slides today. So I would like to suggest to code this phenomenon like the women in the science technology, like the golden glimmer of the sun through the treetops. They would like to continue to make all of the golden to every women's. That is the ideal situation. If we improve this situation from the top of tree of top to all of the trees, so we need to know what is our difficult to all of the women's. So we can give a several situation that several scholars discuss it right now. That is, women continue its minority and disadvantaged group in the science and the technology. They don't have enough chance to develop their early productive, and especially in some nature science. So we call this like the leak pipeline. This is not only the surface difficult, continue to see what is a deep issues we can know. The stacking of the obstacle to women's development for the science, gender, stereotype, and traditional gender view bondage, especially for hard to bear the marriage and the fertility in the male domestic organization, the organizational culture. This is a big background in all of the countries, especially in developing countries. So certainly the developed country also has a situation like this. So traditional gender perception, like the women lack talent and capacities in the science and the technology, and overlook the development or underestimate female creativity in the science and the technology, so on. So make all of the women and others to under evaluation of the women's R&D work. Certainly, every woman should meet a big challenge, that's the marriage and the fertility. I think good women and the good scientist women should have a marriage and a fertility. That's my personal thinking. So marriage and the fertility also become the primary cause of the bottleneck in the career development of the women in the science and the technology. Even with the same profile of the being married and with young children, female PhD had a 35% lower probability than male PhD to get tenure track positions, and a 27% lower probability of the further become tenured. So that is so high proportions. Even some women is a very outstanding. Another thing you can see, that is from the film called On the Basis of Sex. You can see in all of the men-controlled society in the science and the technology, only one woman standing out in the science and the technology field, so lonely. This is not only one country. I think all of the country has these phenomenon. In many developing countries, women generally have a lower social status. Women's rights of the education, empowerment, and even the personal security are yet being protected. So how to create innovative mechanism for cultivating women in the science and the technology is real become all of the key issue in the social development. We would like to suggest to rebuild education with a gender awareness from a primary school to high school, and all of the education system showed strengthening gender education. This chart showed the Chinese government set up the springboard initiatives, try to make all of the children from the primary school become the boy and the girls, join the same activities in the science and the technology. So science is not belong to the men, also for all of the people, include the women's. So also we try to reorienting public resource and opportunity to women in development. So women can have a more chance to get the fund for their research on the science. And also they have opportunity to develop themselves, and they are science works. That is also very, very important. Right now, we showed the marriage and the fertility give women some challenge. They try to later to build birth-friendly organization, improve the policy, and creating birth-friendly ecosystem. That is important to support all of the women from the different field and the different period can continue to develop their science demand. Certainly, one good way and effectiveness is about strengthening mass media coverage and improvement general review, such as a film, such as newspaper, public book, and TV, and so on. That can make is a public society to have a gender issue in the science and the technology. Finally, from today's meeting, I'm very confident, and I do believe if we can get more and strong international cooperation and stressing international exchange, driving motivation effect, we can share all of the resources for women development in science and the technology field. We can share the lessons and the experience, and the women's empowerment will be developed very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Zheng. Yeah, for an excellent presentation. You really put forward a lot of good suggestions. And one big call is that we need international collective efforts to achieve empowerment of women in science and engineering. Together we make a difference. Now let's move to next speaker. Professor Enrico Bolos, Chair, Presidential Committee on Women in Science, MTA, Hungarian. Yeah, Professor, you're ready to go?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you.
You are. Yeah.
Director Jinghua, respected colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everyone in faraway countries, and good morning to everyone in Europe. I will speak about the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, its various projects and policies that were implemented in the past several years, to improve the situation of women in the various fields of science. At the initiatives of former President László Lovász and current President Tamás Freund, clear policies have been implemented to support women scholars and scientists all along their professional careers, from the time they are young mothers to when they get nominated and elected to the academy. Let me first give a short background of the Hungarian academic structure and its implications relevant to our topic. The Hungarian Academy of Sciences was founded nearly 200 years ago in 1825 with 365 members at any moment of time to represent the disciplines within the humanities, the social sciences, and natural sciences in a total of 11 so-called scientific sections. With the passing of members, new candidates get nominated every 3 years. This is the general rule, at least, to which there have been some exceptions, of whom circa 20% become corresponding members first, who then become full members 6 years later. It was after World War II that the first women members were accepted to the academy. While some were truly first-rate scholars and scientists, several were elected for professional as much as political reasons. With the Communist Party overseeing the elections, not only was party membership and loyalty to the ruling powers taken for granted, but membership in one of the higher bodies of the parties, like the Central Committee or in the cabinet, was also considered a plus. With only 8 general assemblies electing women, altogether 11 female scientists became members during the 40 years between 1949 and 1989. After the regime change of 1990, however, elections ceased to be politically motivated. However, the male-female ratio of the members remained visibly low, with several opportunities missed to improve this situation. Today, with 30 female members out of over 350, women do not even make up 10% of total membership. This is a serious situation that is being addressed and improved. One additional point needs to be clarified in connection with the Hungarian election system, academic election system, that is. In order to be eligible to be nominated for corresponding membership, the nominee must hold a certain title, MTA doctorate, which one earns through a lengthy approval process whereby the candidate's scholarly publication output, as well as the submitted major dissertation, are rated. This process is then completed by a defense of the dissertation, after which the prestigious title Doctor of MTA is conferred, which, by the way, is the formal prerequisite of professorships too, although in some cases this promotion is granted without the fulfillment of this doctorate requirement. The average age when researchers earn an MTA doctorate varies by discipline, but ranges somewhere between 40 and 70. It also varies by gender, being awarded to men earlier than women, especially women with children. To mend this grave problem, in 2008, then Deputy Secretary General Valeria Csipe, Professor of Psychology, took the lead to design and implement pioneering policies addressing the disadvantages young women scientists suffered. Among these, some opened up new opportunities for young researchers and mothers with underage children, while others adjusted certain requirements to them for grant applications. The next major step came in 2016 when, upon the recommendation of Oxford Professor of Neurobiology, Péter Somogyi, the General Assembly authorized President László Lovász and the Presidium of the Academy to propose new policies for gender supportive elections, and the general enhancement of female talent in the sciences and the humanities. At the initiative of President Lovas, a new presidential committee was set up in 2017, the Committee for Women in Science, headed by Professor of International Law, Van der Lam, at that time, section president of Scientific Section 9, actually the only section president, only woman section president, that is, of law and economics. She was the president. And when Professor Lam got elected as vice president for humanities and social sciences in 2020, I had the honor to take over chairing this committee, determined to continue the multifaceted work of my respected predecessor. At the initiative of the committee, an elaborate policy was designed and implemented to get first a higher number of women nominated and then to get them elected as corresponding members. The 2019 elections could boast with a spectacularly record number of nominations, 29, and an even more spectacularly record number of elections, 10. This elaborate policy, implemented after an intensive personal campaign of Professor Lam to get all science section presidents, all men by the way, use their influence in nominations, consisted in the following. All of the 11 scientific sections received an equal number of positions, 3 each, a total of 33, with additional positions left vacant by members deceased during the previous 3 years to be distributed in such a way that female nominees who got over 50% of the votes from their respective committees be given special consideration. This was a most elegant policy, one that did not force anything on the members, simply requested extra consideration to eligible female scientists. It requested that they be noticed, that they be seen. Something like what Abigail Adams petitioned her husband, President John Adams, in 1776, to remember the ladies. But unlike the American president in 1776, the members of the Hungarian Academy complied with this request in 2019. One of the top priorities of the Academy is to reduce the gender imbalance clearly present in scientific careers at any point of the scale, intricately mapping the occupational pyramid prevalent in society at large. We know very well that while at the BA or BSc levels, female students outnumber male students, the further up we look, the fewer and fewer the women. Their number decreases progressively if we look at the MA, MSc, and PhD levels, assistant and associate professors, full professors, department heads, deans, rectors, or presidents of universities, and directors of various departments and sections at research institutes. All these discrepancies between male and female scientific careers need to be doctored at their respective levels. The stages that concern the academy fall within the range above the PhD level. Therefore, we must target the process leading up to the MTA doctorate title so that the percentage of women obtaining their MTA doctorate title should not fall, as it did, in 2017 from 37% to 16%. So we decided to launch a mid-career mentoring program with our members, Veronika Müller and Beata Bertaschi, visiting various research facilities, giving public talks and conducting one-on-one consultations within a larger mentoring process geared at researchers who feel they are in a professional jam at a post-PhD pre-MTA doctorate phase in their careers. Special grants have been set up to encourage women scientists to work towards their MTA doctorate titles. Other grants help young mothers continue their careers after taking maternity leave, attend scientific conferences, and publish scientific studies. I am happy to report that a steady progress has been made in this area, resulting in dissertations that most probably would not have been finished without the incentives of the Academy's leadership. The Presidential Committee made various efforts to encourage high school girls to choose STEM careers as well. This is, of course, a long-term process, for the underrepresentation of women in the hard sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics has its roots at an early age, probably age 10. So in order to make STEM careers attractive to girls, middle and high schools have been targeted, with committee members, Katalin Balázsi and Anna Kércsi, in alliance with the alumni clubs within the alumni program of the Hungarian Academy, launched by President Tamás Freund in 2020, visiting schools all around the country, actively turning the best female students towards these fields. Our committee has issued various recommendations to resolve discrepancies in the representation of women in the many organizational bodies of research. The general occupational pyramid seems to be at work here too, in that very often the ratio of female speakers in workshops and conferences to male speakers exceeds considerably the ratio of female chairs of sessions and panels to male chairs and of sessions and panels. Similarly, the ratio of female members on boards and committees surpasses significantly the ratio of female chairs of those bodies, usually admitting women to lower positions only as deputy chairs or secretaries to those committees. We have not only drawn attention to these discrepancies, but emphatically urged organizers of conference sessions and panels to invite women in an equal number, also advocating that conveners of committees make it possible to vote in an equal number to female colleagues with the same qualifications as men, so that they may become not only members, but also chairs and vice chairs in those bodies. The committee decided to undertake a somewhat sensitive task as well when issuing recommendations on how to guarantee a gender-sensitive workplace that ensures an environment respectful to women. Finally, in order to show how attractive careers in science as well as the humanities are, our committee has set out to sponsor publications that present outstanding women whose intellectual achievements are truly extraordinary. We have two such publications in the oven, so to speak, one in Hungarian, edited by Maria Polaschik and Maria Schwatt, portraying the life and work of 100 Hungarian women scientists, while the other, in English, edited by Réka Krisztián and Anna Kércsi, surveying the impressive careers of a dozen or so pioneering women in diverse disciplines. In addition, one of our members, Andrea Pető, staged a nationwide essay competition inviting college and university students, as well as faculty, to give assessments of women with the most impressive careers in science. The Academy in general, and our committee in particular, established ties with two organizations with missions in alliance with ours, the Academy of Young Researchers and the Association of Hungarian Women in Science, represented by Katalin Solymosi and Katalin Balázsi. respectively. Both of these associations have set out to redress discrepancies between the number of girls and boys choosing STEM careers, to mentor young female scientists so that they continue and expand research, and to help mothers with young children to carry the double burden of family and profession. Professor Tamás Freund, MTA's president elected in 2020, placed a high priority in his presidential program on developing a complex strategy for making available a minutely worked out yet realistic career advancement plan for women scholars and scientists. This career development strategy spells out not only the goals and opportunities, but also the ways in which the Academy can help the attainment of goals and the realization of opportunities. It is now the task not only of our committee, but every corresponding and full member to make sure the goals are attained, and all the short-term and long-term strategy enhancing women's careers in science is duly executed. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Balabas, for your very clear and informative presentation. So we definitely have a better understanding of MTA's institutional policies for the empowerment of opportunities for women in science. Also, the role you played in promoting the kids to go to careers like STEM. You know, it's a wonderful presentation. A lot to discuss. So next speaker is Professor Wanaba, Executive Director of GST, and he or she will talk about government policy to advance women's careers in science in Japan. I'm sorry, yes, Professor, Professor Wanabe, are you there? Yeah, you're ready to take the floor. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So, thank you very much for your introduction. So I'd like to share my slide. This one. Okay, so I'd like to talk about the policy and activities in Japan. So first of all, I'd like to show you a situation about gender equality as an example of SDGs. Each country's SDGs performance is evaluated and published every year since 2016. This shows the result of this year for OECD countries. Look at this right side, showing each country's progress toward achieving SDGs. The green means the best performance, yellow is the next, and the orange means a third, and the red means the worst performance. Japan is here. We have all colors from the best to the worst. So this shows the change of Japanese performance for SDGs. The left side, this side, means the best achievement so far. And Japan was positioned here always for education. This year, only 4 countries were in this highest level category for education. The country keeping the best performance since 2016 are only 2, Canada and Japan. We are proud of it. On the other hand, the right side, or this side, shows the worst performance for SDGs. The SDG Japan keeps this category is gender equality, climate actions, and the partnership. Regarding the partnership, climate actions, 35 countries were in this category among 37 countries. That means this is very difficult. Similarly, 16 countries were in this achievement situation for the partnership. Look at gender equality just over here, okay? Just over here. Only 3 countries were positioned in this category. We can say a most serious problem is gender equality in Japan. Next, I'd like to show you our government policy about gender equality in science and technology. Before the policy, I show you the Organization for Science and Gender Policy in Japan. The main policies are made at Cabinet Office, just over here, with collaboration with the related ministries. The policies are implemented at the funding agencies and the university and so on. Next, I will explain basic plans for gender equality in science and technology. These are the just 2 government policies in Japan. We have two organizations to make the 2 basic plans. Both are in Cabinet Office. One is Gender Equality Bureau, where gender equality basic plans are made every 5 years, and I was a member to make it. The newest was determined by the Cabinet at the end of last year. The other is Council for Science and Technology and Innovation. The basic plan is also made every 5 years. The newest 6th basic plan was determined by the Cabinet in March this year. So let me explain the contents of science chapter at the 5th Gender Equality Basic Plan. The first is about expanding women's participation in science, technology, and innovation and academia. The second is promotion of research from perspective of gender equality and gender differences. This is a new item as a gender equality basic plan, and we need to accelerate it. The third is creating environment adaptive for men and female researchers. This is especially for young scientists. The fourth is promotion of female students in science and engineering. Notable is the second, this one. Next, I explain the 6th Science, Technology, and Innovation Basic Plans. Gender equality and diversity were mentioned as the chapter of reconstructing environment, producing diverse and outstanding research. As a direction toward ideal science realization, diversity of research and gender-based innovation were clearly declared. This is a new item as a basic plans. In order to promote female researchers' activity, environment adaptive for both male and female researchers, numerical target of female ratio, and female student promotion were mentioned. It was also mentioned that the public research budget should be reflected by the gender equality achievement in university and research institute. This is a strong message and can change attitude about gender equality in many organizations. This shows the 2 basic plans overview. Expanding women's participation in science, technology, and innovation, creating environment adaptive for young female researchers, and the promotion of female students in science. What was included in the past policies? Gender analysis and the public research budget allocation according to the gender equality achievement are new. So next, let me show you the latest implementation of the policies so far. We need to expand women's participation in science, technology, and innovation first. One of the programs for this is that the female researchers are not visible enough, although there are so many wonderful young female researchers. So that we made new award for female researchers with Jun Ashida fashion design brand. We called it Jun Ashida Award. Our aim is to share the top-level brilliant female researchers and to show science and technology are not confined to a small world. Science and technology are connected with a bright fashion design. Both need originality and must be accepted by many people in the society. Jun Ashida created actually women's spacesuits. So we have recognized excellent top female researchers by this award. Next, we created new award for more young female researchers in collaboration with the Polish embassy in Japan this year. That is Maria Skłodowska-Curie Award. The applicants are early career female researchers who got a PhD within 5 years. We are now accepting applications for this award. These selection, these committee members, they are top scientists. Next, I show you good practice of women participation. That is a female ratio of council members of Science Council of Japan, that is a Japanese Science Academy. Gender equality basic plan always had a numerical target of a female ratio of members of this academy. It was only 1% in 2020, just over here. The second basic plan started in 2003 mentioned about female ratio in this academy. It was very effective. The following basic plans show the numerical target and they were always achieved. Gender equality in this academy has accelerated and the present female ratio is 37%. I realized that if female ratio exceeds 30%, gender equality becomes commonplace. This result tells us that policy with the numerical targets is a key factor to accelerate gender equality. So let me show you the gender analysis that is very clear in Japan. This shows the result of analysis of economic value of the patent. The first result was presented in 2016, and the second one was published with the new data in 2018. This shows the economic value of the patent in 16 STEM fields in Japan. The red bars show the economic value of the patent by mixed gender teams. The gray bars show that by male-only teams. The result shows that the value of the 50 is 50% higher for mixed gender teams than male-only teams. We can increase economic value without increase of the budget, only by increasing female researchers. Next, I'll show you our activity to encourage high school students in science and technology. In order to support science, technology, and engineering girls more, Cabinet Office assigned 7 STEM girls ambassadors in 2018. This shows a picture taken at the appointment ceremony. Cabinet Office and JSP, our organization, are collaborating and organizing workshops and seminars every year with the ambassadors for high school students and their parents. We organize science fair with high school students present their research result. Just excellent students are awarded by government ministers and the JSP president. This figure shows a female ratio of participants and winners at 2 kinds of science fair for high school students. The female ratio of winners were more than 40%. The highest was 82%. High school girls have high ability to present their science research. So finally, I'd like to show you the new management of the University of Tokyo started on 1st of April this year. This university is the most traditional and high-level university in Japan. The 6 executive members are women among 11 members. they changed their management drastically. So this is a summary of my talk. So anyway, global collaboration is necessary to achieve real gender equality in research. Thank you very much.
And for your presentation of the Japanese situation, and in China we have saying, the boys and girls, they work together, and people get tired less easily. That feeds to your productivity increase if they work together. I think in research innovation that must be the case. And you mentioned that Japan has just started, and I hope that things will further improve. That's basically, we finished all the presentations, and we're entering the session for a panel discussion. It's a little late, but appears the time is okay. And we have a list of the questions projected on the screen. Basically now full. I guess that my colleagues circulated to you people ahead of time. So now we can talk about this. Another thing I want to raise that we drafted a statement on empowerment of women in science, in being researchers. And if you have any further opinions on that statement, you can raise it up. Otherwise, that when the meeting is over, that basically means that we agree to declare that statement for the empowerment of women in science and in engineering. With that, let me seek questions and comments from the audience. The first one is, especially top female scientists less active than male scientists in publication and leadership positions. What are the main reasons from your perspective? You see, top level female scientists less active in publications, I guess, also in leadership positions. Leadership positions, I know that there are stereotypes, you see. We should give more opportunities to women to take up leadership roles. The publication, in my guess, is that, sometimes they have less time, They have to take care of the household work, cooking, taking care of the kids, and so on and so forth. Maybe I'm wrong. So you can start to do, yes, please. 我们怎么弄那谁 Yeah, please. So we start with Baba Bus. Professor Baba Bus. Sure.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Jianghua. I was wondering if you had data supporting this claim. I don't have data, frankly, but my experience does not support this observation, frankly. Probably, just a sec, I'm sorry. Probably for younger women, this is a valid, or it's an observation that applies to younger women scientists, but certainly not top female scientists. I think they have such a motivation, such an urge to prove that they got there for the right reasons, that I think they are actually even overachievers, and they publish more, and they taking leadership positions is usually not only up to them, but I think scholarly scientific output is comparable to their male colleagues. In the case of top female scientists, I should say, I should emphasize. I don't know what your experience is, but I would be very interested to hear it. Thank you.
Well, I actually support your idea. I think lots of top level, women scientists, they are pretty active international collaboration, and they have a lot more time, as a matter of fact, in dedicating to research. And where did we get this question? Can one of you answer from my staff? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like move. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, GST.
Can you hear me?
GST, yes.
Yeah, okay. My opinion is the number of the senior female scientists are actually small because we were not encouraged to be active as a scientist and did not have enough support when we were young. Many talented female researchers have quitted due to poor support and poor encouragement. I was very disappointed when I saw them. The result is that there are few women at leadership position now. However, there are some remaining women who are very active and can be leaders. So the scientific society should make these women more active as leaders. And the female leaders should encourage young women to be more active freely so that we can get sustainable, virtuous cycle. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Very good one. Yeah. 还有吗? Okay. So we don't have to look at this particular question. We can move down. How can R&D administration research institution promote and support women scientists to increase their visibility? A lot of speakers touch that point. We definitely need institutional arrangement, institutional policy, national policy, and particular program and initiatives like words. Can one of you to further elaborate? Or you have questions to ask the previous speakers in case you feel to get the point across. Okay. All right. And I see there is a little difference, you see, particularly from the Hungarian situation, definitely from my side of the story, I will pass that message to Chinese Academy of Sciences Membership Bureau, if they have a program that will promote women to be elected into the CES membership. And I know a lady, and his name is Professor Ma Guanghui from Institute of Process Engineering, and she had a luck to be elected, but a number of other ladies, failed to make it this time. But you have that empowerment. Okay, yes, but Barnabas, Professor Barnabas, please.
Thank you so much. It's not really a question, but I wanted to congratulate the previous speakers, especially Professor Thompson and Nina Stareva, for all the achievements that they presented, the OSD grants and fellowships and awards. What fantastic achievements, how very beautiful to do all this. And I really think it's beautifully commendable. I was listening to your presentation with great interest. And Nina Stareva, how beautiful that the European Commission is introducing a new ERA or ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, in sciences and research and innovation. Can I ask you, there is a question here about the mandatory requirements. What is the process leading up to making it mandatory? And also your training, where do you advertise it? Who can participate? How do you select the participants? If I may ask that. Thank you.
Professor Kalunji, yeah, you raised up your hand. You want to?
There's one topic that we haven't been talking about. That's the legal issues. In many countries, there are restrictions from women. For example, they're not allowed to enroll in certain majors, or if they do enroll, their scores need to be 20% higher than the boys before they get into university. This is a reality. Okay, so that's one of the real barriers to the participation of women. Very concrete barriers. And then the other concrete barriers is that in some countries, it's still allowed to have job descriptions which only allow men in universities or in scientific professions. Like only males are allowed to apply. And so if we cannot eliminate gender discrimination legally, I really don't know how much progress we'll be able to make. So we have to think about gender discrimination.
Yeah, but I think the countries and countries, they're different. Some countries they emphasize that, but some other countries may not be the case. So, well, it's a very complicated issue. Professor, Handels.
Thank you. The pronunciation is a little bit needs to be changed. Hudes. That's my family name. Sorry. I would like to add two. Yes, correct. So I would like to add two more aspects to discuss. The first one is related to the visibility of women scientists, and there is a need of an institution to have interviews, to make reports, to show a movie on the website of the given institute. So, for example, if a lady scientist received a prize, then sure, it would be very important to have an interview put on the web, YouTube or institutional. So, what I'm saying that the institutional policy needs to be developed in the field of communication and dissemination.
Yeah, very good suggestion. Yeah. All right, and so we have others. And the next question is that increased women scientists has been called upon for decades. Why little progress? How we can, what we can do to further promote it? So in ANSO's case, if you can give us some advice, maybe my staff and I will discuss and consultate, discuss with ANSO members. Yeah. Please, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a very good question, I think. Most of the people understand that we need to increase the number of women scientists, but some of them don't understand if the value of the science will increase by increasing women scientists. We should share the value of the gender-based innovation more. For example, we have a data showing the economic value increased with the mixed gender teams more than the male-only teams in Japan. We should analyze scientific value as a function of women's participation. Actually, Mina presented in Horizon Europe, they will promote gender analysis, and maybe we can accumulate the data. So if gender analysis is disseminated to various studies, more people can share the significance of women's participation, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. So we definitely need to further publicize, spread the major achievements accomplished, by women scientists in fundamental science and engineering. In fact, I introduced particularly a women scientist to speak, and she is very active in international collaboration, and through collaborations with a number of countries in Europe, they developed the lowest temperature, standard for fundamental science. That's a case to demonstrate that the ladies can make a difference. Tomorrow she'll make that presentation. Okay, and the last one is how to deal with the barriers of women's scientific invisible inequality, unconscious in job searching, promotion. Yes, yeah, great chance yet. Turn on your mic. You are in silent mode.
Well, how is that? Sorry.
Good, yes, turn it on. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that what ANSO can do, you could launch a gender initiative, ANSO gender initiative with all of the ANSO member countries and institutions, because it's huge. You've got people from all of the Belt and Road countries going all the way to Italy and then going into Southeast Asia. You could make a ANSO strategic initiative on gender in science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, good suggestion. And I want to give a quick comment on your point is that the Belt and Road proposal is the biggest international collaboration proposal ever made, by China. And now is the concept to extend a lot of countries not in the cold Belt and Road regions. So, we should really enhance international collaboration across the board, bring the developed economies into the partnership to advance empowerment of women in science. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that ANSO could play an incredible leadership role in that regard, and I'd be happy to work with you on it.
Okay. Yeah, we have Professor Kalunji's strong support. I'm sure that we have support from all the speakers, previously. So the extra family burdens, especially during the pandemic, definitely the COVID-19, created lots of setbacks for the realizations of UN sustainables, and and causes a lot of family burdens, and that can be a drain, for women scientists to carry out a good academic performance, So I guess extra family burdens. So job searching, and so in my office, and unfortunately, because we have a lot of more ladies than boys, So I have about 15 staff. About 14 of them are girls and ladies, you see. So it's different situation. I remember previously, one of you mentioned that unfortunately, and women have less, career development in STEM, but not in languages. So we should really encourage more women to pursue and scientific research. How we can do that? Kundas, Professor Kundas, you want to say something? Oh, Ali Kun, are you there? You are a scientist yourself. Yes. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I wish to add that for this you need a wise man or a wise leader, and using this position to take advantage on the basis of performance to get involved in a project. So in my case, I'm very sorry to talk about that, but in my case, it was a special aspect to promote, to help my colleagues to get involved and to get engaged. That's more important. And after engagement, after, for example, having the PhD, you need some sort of different strategy to talk to these candidates and help them by indirect manners to give their
Good. Oh, so you are in the silent mode, yeah. We didn't hear your last sentence.
Okay.
We didn't hear your last sentence.
The last sentence, yes. So, for example, in my group, I give special special attention to ladies and they were very successful to get a PhD. But I am failed to pressurize them to get the Doctor of Science degree because they became very busy with other things, different executional tasks. So, but at that stage, there is no room, no extra room for a leadership other than helping softening the conditions without giving any privilege in less performance or less performance. So that's why I think very important the role of the leadership. For example, just another example, if you are organizing an international meeting, if you have in your mind the gender issue, that you are going to invite lady speakers, because I'm sure that in the field, they are excellent speakers, excellent lady speakers. But if you are organizing a meeting without having this aspect, then practically, probably you will have only a man scientist. So that's a responsibility of organizers, the leadership in science as it is. Thank you.
So thank you for your comment, and Professor Bai, the President ANSO emphasized a lot of the gender balance. So ANSO does have a strong awareness of that. So when we arrange international conferences, we pay a particular attention to that. We'll do, from ANSO. ANSO, as Professor Kalungi said, is the doing organization. You refer. I like that word. ANSO is the doing organization. So, Professor can you give a comment?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Can you hear me? It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I was really enjoyed all the talks, and because myself, I am a scientist, a women scientist. I started my career a long time ago, and I know so many women scientists. Unfortunately, I'm not so optimistic about the situation of women scientists in China, because when you are going higher, actually the competition is so tensed. Women scientists, because of their nature, they should take care of their family, and they are not so get used to the high competition. So I think so. As my personal view of women scientists, difficulties, actually we need a very strong support from men. That is that kind of thinking, awareness about the problem, how to solve the problem, actually relies on the man, makes me really upset sometimes. But in many hard science, you need to spend a lot of time. Competition is very high. Actually, at that situation, women cannot take many progresses. But on the other hand, I really agree with Professor Kalonji and Professor Watanabe. The value of the women, I'm not only talking about women scientists, the value of the women should be recognized by the whole society. This is very, very important because if you see that, many of the areas, they don't realize the value of the women. They don't think they need women's contribution. This is the real problem of the whole system, thinking about women. So I believe that through international collaboration, at least from ANSO platform, we can give some good stories of women scientists about their experience, about their stories, how to, get success on their career, on their family. So these kind of things can encourage more young girls and early career women scientists to join the STEM, this field, to encourage them. Otherwise, I think, as I, see the lot of women scientists after they got PhD, they joined the real research world. They will be, pushed back to from the front line of the research. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Professor, I had the actual, observation. Yeah, I tend to agree with her. Yeah, there are glass ceilings. Yeah, particularly for women scientists. So,
Professor
yes, Anasha. Yeah. I haven't heard from you. Yes, please. Yeah, you're a big promoter. Yeah, for gender equality. Yeah, from Hungary, yes.
Let me just add and underline the importance of communication and strong messages in order to facilitate our goals. So just a little thing which I would like to share with you, if I may. This is share screen.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So you have a slide to show us?
Yes, something.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So this is the painting, which is the allegory of Hungarian Academy of Sciences. This is our main picture, the most important painting. And you see it on all of our papers, and you can see on our website. This painting was painted in 1831. So if anybody tries to get in touch with Hungarian Academy of Sciences, they will see a lady. They will see Hebe, who is in Greek mythology, the goddess of youth and knowledge. That was all. So thank you. That's all.
This is a hidden message.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Good. So when we talk about the women scientists, right in my mind, actually, I also have a couple of very established Chinese women scientists, such as Ye Shuhua. Xie Xide used to be the president of Fudan University. Anyway, and they contribute tremendously, to their field of research. And the pity is that there are not so many names. Definitely, through our efforts, we'll promote that. And with that, let me move to the statement. do we have any further improvement comments on that, ANSO workshop towards diversity research and researcher? So I guess you have a copy in your hand, and we can further improve it, of course. This is the basic, statement, and even after release, we can further improvement, Yeah, if we don't have, any strong, comments, and of course, definitely no objection at all, we communicate it. So we agree to issue this, There are some just very basic principles. They are not very sensitive, closest, never hurt anybody, Cool. Yeah. Professor Kudas.
Yes, thank you. Very well done. So that's this is our opinion that it is an excellent declaration, and I would like to suggest to accept it. So no further comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I read it 3 times. Definitely I accept it. Yeah. All right. So if that's the case, so we agree to issue this. Jingyuan, is that right? 是不是我们要 we reach that conclusion, right? 我们要达到这个，是吧 ？Yeah， 我们同意就是发表这个，对吧？Yeah, of course, means that today's workshop, all of the speakers and participants agree on release of this statement. And tomorrow, of course, and tomorrow's chair will also take opinions, from the speakers and participating organization. With that, and I really want to thank all the speakers for your wonderful presentations and wisdoms and ideas. Definitely, there are a lot of takeaways. I can comment in the key points on each one of you. All of you have done a beautiful job. And I would say that we do need, national policy. We do need, institutional policy and regulation. We do need initiatives like, words, for excellent scientists, excellent women scientists. And we do need programs to encourage young kids to pursue STEM. Well, things of that nature. And of course, we need to celebrate and extend the scientific accomplishments by, women scientists. And we need to, spread that message and emphasize the value of women, for frontier research, for contributing to society with science innovation. And of course, not only the value, but their big role. As I said, that I do have a lot of stories to share that the women scientists have done a lot in various field of research. And of course, as we said, that we need leadership. A leadership makes a big difference. So that's why I gave my little compliment to Professor Kalungji, and the reason Professor Shripeng, wants your service because you can really use your influence random connections to put the people together, including women scientists. And of course, we need much higher leader in order to make a big difference. And from ANSO point of view, thank you for your suggestions. We did give a big emphasis in your previous work. So with this workshop, we'll emphasize more, that's for sure. And 2 things we'll do, definitely, and we'll give particular attention to excellent women scientists. So in review some of our program initiatives. We do take care of that. We do emphasize the ratio. Want to make sure that each category there are women representations. Another thing is that we'll give big emphasis on communicating and spreading the scientific accomplishments made by ladies. So with that, I do want to thank you again, and I should not conclude without thanking Professor Ai and my team, for an excellent work done. And tomorrow, we'll have another beautiful session. Thank you so much. Thank you for your strong support to the growth and development ANSO. Thank you.